The Pentagon has developed a ray gun. Yeah, this new weapon is now part of our U.S. arsenal. The colonel in charge of its development and testing said, "We are now stepping into the Buck Rogers scenario." Buck Rogers? Hey, Buck Rogers was a hero. He was ridding the 25th century of warlords. I think it's more like we're stepping into the Darth Vader scenario. A recent report on the CBS program 60 Minutes talked about the Pentagon's new ray gun weapon. It's actually called an active denial system. It works kind of like a microwave oven. Actually, it is a microwave oven, only it's used on people. What it does is heats the water in the skin to about 135 degrees instantly. It's supposed not to burn the skin at all, and apparently it doesn't. It's called a humanitarian weapon or a non-lethal weapon. The idea of a non-lethal weapon being deployed in a war zone like Iraq might have a certain appeal. Remember in April 2003, 20 Iraqi civilians were killed when the U.S. Marines opened fire on a large protest demonstration in that city. And remember what happened in Fallujah afterwards. The outrage of the Iraqi civilians in the city kept growing and growing and growing. Finally, the U.S. Marines engaged in an all-out assault on the city of Fallujah. They leveled the city, they destroyed it, and they called it peace. One of the Pentagon planners said if they had had this ray gun weapon in Fallujah for that demonstration, they wouldn't have killed any civilians, and the outrage wouldn't have grown out of control. That seems to make sense. Sue Payton, the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Acquisition, explained one of the reasons why this weapon hasn't been deployed to Iraq.
Don't ever want a system like this to be thought of as a torture weapon.
Hey, Sue, I thought our country didn't torture. That's what the folks in Washington are telling us. Besides, a weapon like this that only heats somebody up to 135 degrees instantly, boiling the water in their blood, that couldn't be torture. Not according to the definitions floating around Washington these days. In the end, the 60 Minutes program got down to the real basic reason why this weapon hasn't been deployed to Iraq. It turns out the military isn't really interested in non-lethal weapons. They're really quite content with their highly lethal weapons that they have right now.
A major came up to me and said that the Marine Corps wasn't overly thrilled with the whole non-lethal concept. And his idea was that the Marine Corps' idea of force escalation went from M16 to F16. How many people could we kill and how fast we could do it?
The 60 Minutes program included a demonstration use of the new ray gun weapon against protesters, like in Fallujah, remember? Now, although 60 Minutes said this was a situation that U.S. soldiers in Iraq might confront, I really haven't seen any demonstrators in Iraq with signs that said things like "World Peace" and "Peace Not War." This looks like a pretty domestic demonstration. Well, sort of. So here's where 60 Minutes really missed the boat about this new ray gun weapon. First of all, the defense contractor that developed the weapon, Raytheon, already has a commercial version of it available. It's called the Silent Guardian. You can look it up on their website. There's a nice fact sheet there. The Silent Guardian is targeted toward domestic police departments and other security outfits. You might be able to buy it at Walmart any day now. But where the 60 Minutes folks really missed the boat is this. In 2006, Secretary of the Air Force Michael Wynne talked about why this weapon hasn't been deployed to Iraq yet. He said, quote, "If we're not willing to use it here against our fellow citizens, then we should not be willing to use it in a wartime situation." In other words, let's test it out here at home on, say some protesters carrying signs that say things like, "World Peace" and "Peace Not War." That's what the Secretary of the Air Force wants to do. but 60 Minutes missed it. Maybe the Air Force will get its chance to test the new ray gun after all. There are going to be big demonstrations at both the Democratic and Republican conventions this summer. They'll have a perfect opportunity to test out this weapon, and then they can deploy it to Iraq so that the Iraqis can also enjoy the blessings of freedom and democracy just like us here at home. I'm Paul George, here to tell you,